Hey guys, it's History Behind the Warrior and welcome to another Mortal Kombat video. Now the recent talk and discussion that's been floating around about Kombat Pack 2, and seeing as we are coming up to the end of the year and we are currently halfway through the Kombat Pack, I thought I'd make a video talking about the characters I would actually like to see in Kombat Pack 2. Now this won't just be something I strictly want. I will be taking into mind what the community has said and the characters that they do wish to see. So don't worry, it won't be entirely biased on my end, as much as I'd love to sneak in some of my personal favourites here and there. Now there aren't really any rules for this Kombat Pack, however I will keep my expectations realistic, because I'm not going to throw in a character like Corrupted Shinnok when there's absolutely no reason for him existing in this Kombat Pack. So I'm not going to have some of my character choices be far-fetched. Now for this Kombat Pack 2 list to actually work, I will be having a bit of a criteria that the characters do need to meet. The first one is fan demand, the second one is legacy and popularity, and the third one is that they haven't been DLC in previous NRS games, because that seems to be a strict thing that Ed Boon does want to stick by. Now also at this point in time, I do wish to say that a second Kombat Pack right now is not at all confirmed. This is just something I'm hypothetically putting together and laying out on the table to stir together a conversation. Now since I am keeping things rather realistic, that means yes, there will be some guest characters for this Kombat Pack, but they'll more or less be ones that I think are actually good choices as DLC. Now before we do get on to our video, I do want to say that we actually have a sponsor for the channel today, that being Raid Shadow Legends. Now Raid is an RPG mobile game filled to the brim with content, as there's a plethora of characters you can play as, deep and interactive gameplay, and a very enticing storyline. Now what is really the icing on the cake here is that it's all completely free to download on the App Store as well as the Android Store. Now despite this game only being around for about 6 months now, it has managed to accumulate over 10 million players, gaining more than 300,000 positive reviews, which is pretty damn close to a nearly perfect score. Raid has been able to expand its horizons and is incorporating new game modes such as the new Factions War game mode that has just been introduced, an artifact system that will allow you to customize and enhance your characters, and a 90-day login reward system. So yes, if you are in fact interested in Raid Shadow Legends, I will have a link for it down in the video description below, and by clicking on my exclusive links, you'll be getting an extra 50,000 silver as well as a free epic champion right out the gate, as it is part of Raid's new player program. But now without any further ado, let's get right on to the video. Now again, to keep things similar to the first Kombat Pack, this one will be consisting of 6 different characters, and the first character will actually be one that was introduced into the last Mortal Kombat game, and that is Takeda Takahashi. Now Takeda was a big hit for fans in Mortal Kombat X, being the son of Kenshi and an individual that was trained under Hanzo Hasashi. Really right out the gate, Takeda was somewhat bred for success, and on top of this, he had a huge role in the MKX comic book series, being an integral part of Hanzo's story. Now other things that really allowed Takeda to shine as a character was his charismatic and humorous nature. Because of this, it was very fun to hear any verbal exchanges he shared with characters, as he had a lot of snide and humorous responses. Now another big selling point of the character was the moveset he did have in MKX. Despite being a student of Scorpion, he had his own unique and stylish approach to gameplay, meaning that he didn't really feel too much like a Scorpion clone. So because of this, it did allow him to stand out and basically become his own character. Now Takeda as a whole is a full package. He does have an existing fan base with his unique and different variations in MKX. He has quite a lot of different options when it comes to approaching gameplay. On top of this, we do know that he is around. Although he's not name dropped in story, he's been referenced to multiple times in different character intros and has featured in many different arcade ladder endings. So I personally do feel like he deserves a place as DLC in Kombat Pack 2. It might even be the case that Takeda was scheduled to actually be in this game, but maybe they didn't have enough time to actually put him in, because although he is absent from the story, for a character that's not included in the game, he's referenced to a lot. And with him actually being a DLC character, we could actually learn why he's been absent during the events of Mortal Kombat 11, especially when we take into account how important the main story is, with time being rewritten. So it would actually be nice to know what happened to him during the story mode. Now as characters do go, Takeda for me personally is at the very top of this list. He's one of my favorite characters that were introduced in the new generation of characters. I feel like his existence has benefited a lot of characters, and I was honestly shocked that he didn't make the cut for the main roster. So I know this some bias on my part, but I would like him to be in the game at some point in time, whether or not that's now or next year. But anyway, let's move on to our next character. Now, above my own personal preference, let's talk about a character that is in far more high demand than anyone else, and that's none other than Molina. Now, though Katana does use her Sai, it's not like she has in fact inherited her entire moveset. Instead, it's a singular stance, but does somewhat pay homage to the character. So the idea of Molina being reintroduced in Kombat Pack 2 is something I'd say that's definitely on the table. Of all characters to have missed 11, Molina's absence has been felt by fans. Although I myself am not like a big fan of the character, I've missed the somewhat charismatic and nihilistic personality. It was one of my favourite traits about the character. However, with her actually dying in MKX, is there a way to kind of write her back in? Well, yes. In MK9 as well as MKX, it's always been strongly implied that despite Molina being a unique blend of Tarkatan and Edenian blood, there are in fact more than just one Molina that exists within the universe. We see this at first in MK9 with a bunch of failed experiments in Shang Tsung's flesh pits, as well as the Molina army that has seemingly awoken in her MKX ending. So really the point is that there's an easy way of kind of just writing this off and kind of inserting Molina semi back into the canon, even if like DLC doesn't really count. Now I do somewhat feel like Molina is a guaranteed pick for Kombat Pack 2, considering how popular she is and how many people have in fact been asking for her. I definitely think it's viable and I absolutely think it's possible. I don't think there's too many reasons for her to not make the cut, honestly, but alas, we will have to wait and see. But yes, Molina is in fact up there. Now whilst in the middle of recording this, as it has taken me a bit of time to put this together, there has in fact been a leak about a character that I will be talking about now, the Wind God Fujin. Now my oh my, have people really asked for Fujin here. This character has been in extreme high demand for a very long amount of time, and despite fans being extremely vocal even in the MK9 days, he has somewhat eluded the games up to this point. And I believe as of right now, Fujin has not been playable in a Mortal Kombat game for just over a decade now, as his last appearance was back all the way in Mortal Kombat Armageddon. And back during the days of MK9, when the game was eventually data mined, we somewhat had a possible hint and tease that Fujin was supposed to be in game. However, this wasn't in fact true, as the DLC characters for that game were Scarlet, Rain, Kenshi, and Freddy Krueger, so Fujin didn't make the cut there. However, the Wind God did make his presence known in MKX, where he can be seen in the first chapter of the game, where he is fighting alongside Raiden defending the Sky Temple. Now he does play an extremely small role here, as he is for the most part a side character and a bit of a homage to the previous timeline, but because of this, as well as Tanya in fact being DLC for Kombat Pack 1, many people believed that Fujin would have made the cut for Kombat Pack 2. However, this proved to not be the case, and really since then, the community has somewhat come together and showed an overwhelming amount of love and support for the Wind God, because out of all of the gods to be in the games, Fujin is heavily underused, and the only reference we do get about Fujin in MK11 is during a verbal exchange, where apparently we learned that Cetrion had killed him. Now despite this being said, we do need to keep two things into account. This is a verbal exchange, and two, no one ever really stays dead in the Mortal Kombat universe. I mean, did you see how many people died in MK9 and came back in MKX? So I definitely believe that Fujin can make the cuts here. He's been in extremely high demand for a very long amount of time, he was an underutilized character that fans really got behind, and he has not been playable since Armageddon. So I believe it can give NetherRealm a lot of creative freedom when it comes to creating a new moveset for the character. Plus the somewhat leak that happened last week kind of confirms his placement for the next Kombat Pack, as well as the existence of a Kombat Pack 2. These are the three main MK characters that I think will be making the cuts here, as these are all in fact fan favorites that have been asked for, and all really kind of represent a different era of Mortal Kombat, with Molina representing the original trilogy of games, Fujin somewhat representing the transition to the 3D era, and Takeda being a representation of the rebooted trilogy. I think this is the best type of fan service that can aim at different fans of the franchise that got into it at different points in time. Now that being said, I said I was going to keep my expectations realistic, so now I'll be getting onto our next three characters, and yes, they will be guest characters, and I will be drawing points and references to our first Kombat Pack in order to draw some lines of symmetry, as well as giving myself something to somewhat work on, as the guest characters for Kombat Pack 1 is a horror / sci-fi action character and two comic book characters, one of which that's clearly been inserted for a form of cross promotion. Now first off, who is my first guest character and why? Well, this one should be fairly obvious, and there has been a lot of questions in the air about it, and that is my choice for none other than Ash Williams. Now yes, I know, this is a very somewhat controversial pick. There were hints that he was supposed to be in the game, but for one reason or another, it just seemed like he didn't make the cut, which is rather strange, as the Ash Williams license was being passed around, with Ash even making it into Dead by Daylight. Now what could have led to this? Well, when a studio is given a character, they do have a specific time frame in order to use them, and depending on the situation, that licensing could be renewed if they wish to continue their relationship, or it could completely be revoked, therefore preventing the inclusion of said character. Now I think in the case of Mortal Kombat 11, it was a situation where it simply expired, and a deal must have not been put together in time, which may explain as to why at this current point in time, the Joker does look slightly unpolished in comparison to some of the other characters we did see in the Kombat Pack. However, that is a theory in itself. Now outside of that, why have I picked Ash Williams as a guest character? Well, ever since the Mortal Kombat universe was rebooted in MK9, NRS has adopted the reputation of incorporating guest characters into their DLC, more so horror characters, with Freddy Krueger in MK9 and Leatherface, Jason, Alien and Predator in MKX. I mean, even for MK11 we do have the Terminator, which originally somewhat started off as sci-fi horror. Now Ash derives from the Evil Dead series, a horror series that is extremely old that focused on the supernatural as well as pretty terrifying body horror at the time. So really in a way, the original Evil Dead film was somewhat a pioneer of things you could do in the genre, as it crossed a lot of lines that made people uncomfortable. However, after the first film, the series started to go in more of a comedic route, and really this was actually to the benefit of the main character Ash Williams. As you see, it really did allow the actor Bruce Campbell to show off more of his acting chops than just a scared man. He was comedic, hilarious and charismatic, and really it helped bring a form of hilarity to an otherwise very messed up situation. Now over the course of time, it's very obvious that Ash Williams has dealt with the supernatural, so I believe he wouldn't be too surprised by the things he saw in MK11. Plus, if you guys have seen Ash vs the Evil Dead, you guys will know he's a kind of a sleazebag, but that's one of the charming aspects about the character. He's extremely full of himself, and in some cases to a damn near delusional level, but it leads to some hilarious situations. So I feel like his inclusion would be welcomed, as honestly, he's basically the young version of Johnny Cage that didn't quite grow out of his cocky nature. Now outside of this, what can Ash actually bring to the table that would make him unique? Well, he's notoriously known for having a boomstick, aka a shotgun, and of course an item that has made him extremely iconic to the horror genre, a chainsaw hand. When he has that thing strapped on, absolutely no deadite that's in his way does survive, as they are shredded like a chainsaw through butter. Now although these are his main tools, Ash has been known to get his hands on a Necronomicon. Now for those of you who are unfamiliar with that, it's basically the Book of the Dead, and by reading it, you tap into the supernatural aspects that lie within, such as calling upon possessive spirits, and even in many cases, demons. So that could definitely be incorporated into Ash's moveset. Overall, I do think Ash is a fantastic character to include. He's charismatic, hilarious, and has a plethora of tools that could honestly make him quite unique to the game. So I am somewhat hoping that his inclusion is possible, because although Bruce Campbell himself has retired from playing the character on screen, he said he's perfectly fine with doing video games, and the somewhat icing on the cake here is that he's working with Sam Raimi at the moment, working on another Evil Dead film. So with Warner Brothers loving their cross promotion, I wouldn't rule out the deal of Ash making it in. But yes, that's everything I want to say for now. Now on to our next character, and yes, it will be a comic book character, and this may in fact be quite a controversial pick, as the Joker is a somewhat similar choice, but I'm going to go with it anyway, as it's the Joker's counterpart, Batman. No, we're not talking about this Batman, not this goody two shoes, no. I'm talking about the very sinister counterpart to what we've typically seen, and if you actually haven't been paying attention to the comics, you may not be familiar with this individual, and that is the Batman Who Laughs. This character has exploded since his debut in Dark Knight's Metal, looking like a true horror monster and blend of Batman, Joker, and I believe there's some influences here from the Dark Judges. The Batman Who Laughs is a terrifying looking antagonist, but what exactly is going on with this character, and why have I chosen him over the hundreds of thousands of other characters at my fingertips here? Well, let's talk about what makes the Batman Who Laughs so incredibly unique. You see, the Batman Who Laughs actually tangles with the idea that many of us have wanted to see for a long time, and that is a Batman who's unhinged, and one that's finally let off the chain. You see, Batman's code and morality is arguably his best selling point and his biggest crutch. It's one of the driving motivators of the Injustice universe, so it does lay out an interesting topic of when it's okay to cross that line and where justice must step in. Now, this version of Batman was caught in a terrible struggle. During the final days of his Gotham, the city was pushed to madness, as the Joker had basically won in that world. He had infected the entirety of Gotham with the Joker toxin, corrupted Commissioner Gordon right in front of his eyes, and would make Bruce experience the same situation that would turn him into the Batman. Now, Bruce was mentally and physically pushed to the brink here, so he broke his one rule, and he killed the Joker. But here's the thing. The Joker, despite being an absolute madman, had his own contingency plan, creating a super form of the Joker toxin that he would unleash on Batman upon his demise. Now, slowly but surely, over the course of time, this incarnation of Bruce was corrupted by the Joker toxin, killing all of his wards, as well as his own allies in the Justice League, even twistedly corrupting Superman with a form of kryptonite that would make him kill his own wife and son. That is the twisted nature of this Batman. Now, of course, this does lead into Dark Knight's Metal, but that's just the origin story of this incarnation of the Batman. It handles a very interesting topic and idea that's been around for a while now, because despite this incarnation of the character being corrupted by Joker toxin, there's more Batman in there than Joker. You see, although the character has been driven absolutely mad, he still retains the intelligence of Bruce Wayne, as well as all the fighting skills and capabilities. The main difference is that there is no moral code. There are no lines, and he will twistedly dismember anyone in his way, even if it's for cheap laughs. This character is a very twisted individual, and I know although we do have the Joker in game, I feel like the Batman Who Laughs is the somewhat perfect match when it comes to a comic book character that can meet the levels of unhinged madness that the Joker can. Plus, the Injustice game series has always been a counterpart to the Mortal Kombat games, so it's not like they can't draw some ideas across from those games into said character's moveset. Now, the reason why I've also gone with the Joker Who Laughs is because of the amount of popularity he's been able to pull in ever since his short debut. The Batman Who Laughs still exists in the main continuity right now, and in fact there's an entire whole story arc currently going on around him, so it could bring in some comic book readers. And to somewhat cap this off with a little bit of that extra cross promotion, we know that right now Warner Brothers is still in the process of creating a new Batman series with Robert Pattinson at the helm, so why not get a little bit of that extra cross promotion in by dropping in a DLC character that can embody the popularity of Batman but also the unhinged and nihilistic nature of the Joker. Personally, I do feel like this is a good choice, especially if you yourself are a Batman fan, but I get if he's not everyone's cup of tea, because there's a lot of comic book characters I could insert here as DLC, but I definitely think for the purposes of cross promotion as well as popularity right now, this one feels like it makes the most sense to me. But that's everything I do have to say about this DLC choice. Now, to cap off this Kombat Pack, I wanted to bring in a horror character, or one that is in fact a face of horror cinema, that being the fabled Michael Myers. Now, Michael has been an extremely iconic face of the slasher genre. He's made a huge impact, and if it wasn't for his debut, it wouldn't have led to many of the other famous slashers that we do have now, as he really was a pioneer of that subgenre. Now, originally, the idea of Michael Myers being in a Mortal Kombat game wasn't exactly something I'd say I'd ever be for. However, I believe that there's enough source material and creativity that could lead to a very interesting moveset for Michael, and on top of this, with the game actually being rather footsie based and considerably slower than MKX, I think it could really tailor to Michael's very methodical and slow pace, as he isn't really a serial killer that will dash at you. Now, on top of this, there is a bunch of source material they could in fact use for Michael, so NRS do have quite a lot to pull from. Another reason for why I feel like he should be included isn't just because he's another slasher, but it is in fact because there is another Halloween film on the horizon. You see, after the most recent sequel slash reboot, it seems like the Halloween series is somewhat back on track with what it wants to be, that being a horrific slasher film at its core. And after the positive reception from the last movie, and it's having a sequel in the pipeline as we speak, I feel like this definitely ties into cross promotion, and once again with the pace of the game, I really do feel like it tailors more towards Michael Myers. Now, I 110% do think this is definitely possible, as the most recent film was made by Blumhouse Productions, which is also currently where the new Spawn film is also being made, so a deal could actually be made there. But until then, we do have to wait and see. But yeah, that basically is everything I did want to say about my my Kombat Pack 2 video. I hope you have enjoyed this, as I did have a lot of fun putting this together. I do apologize for this coming out so late, as this video was originally supposed to come out last week, but you know, food poisoning sucks, so hopefully you've all been able to bear the weight. Now, what are your thoughts on Kombat Pack 2? Are any of the characters here individuals you'd like to see return, or would you much prefer someone else? Please do comment down below, as I'm interested to hear what everyone has to say. And with Kombat Pack 2 seemingly in the works, it leads us all to the question of when will we get more news. But yeah guys, that's actually it. Now, before this video wraps up, if possible, let's try getting it to about 500 likes, as it's honestly the best way of supporting this channel. And also do not forget to tick that bell, as it will notify you when I do upload some more content. But yeah guys, that's it for now. So as always, please comment, like, subscribe, and share this video with everyone you know. Please take care, and I will see you all next time.